please come to the podium.
My name is Virgil Fault. I'm 1701 North 450 East. I'm a neighbor across. I don't know if it's going to be sold off after that, more property. One house, or two houses, or way on down the road.
Right now, it's being sold to one person to build one house, and they're gonna build it way back behind my house. And as far as I mean, after that, if it's subdivided after that, it's up to these guys. I mean, I'm not authorizing it.
Well, that was just a question as a neighbor. We had no idea.
It's gonna be sold to one person, as far as I know, it's gonna be farmland, except for the building.
Okay, I mean, that's good enough for me. We had no idea what was going on. So I think a couple of neighbors had the same question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for me?
Does anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. We'll give it back to the commission for their favor.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 23W subdivision -2, subject to the 3 conditions as stated by staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to roll call for vote.
Travis Baker,
Aye.
Dane Drew,
Aye.
Brent Emmerich,
Aye.
Jack Green,
Aye.
Thor Hodges,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Rob Schuman,
Aye.
Kim Kurtzessler,
Aye.
and Joe Wolf.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 23W rezone 1. Nathan?
Thank you, Mr. President. 23W REZ1 is a rezoning request for approximately 11 acres out of a 23-acre parcel located at, there are actually 2 addresses. This is the one that business is at 5410 South State Road 9. The part that's in question, the 11 acres, is currently zoned IN, intensive use, so heavy industrial. The overall 23 acre next to the railroad track. This actually turned out not so bad. Overall, AG is the surrounding zoning in the area with, again, IN across the lower portion of this subject parcel, and then IN intensive use is also catacorner to the southeast where the fertilizer and old grain elevator used to be. So the proposed split would be, again, for the people in the audience who can see this, approximately 7.5 acres of IPM, with the business being located right here. And then this is the AG portion that would go with the house that's located to the north. Going to the criteria and a brief discussion about the comprehensive plan. This is the future character and land use map, of course, and circled there in red is the site. And it is zoned, it is called out for a rural agricultural character. For everyone's reference, this is the intent and guidelines that are described in the rural agricultural character description in the comprehensive plan. Won't go through all of these, but as the Plan Commission knows, there is a provision that within reason and within the character of the overall agricultural rural character type, you can have, and it's even expected to have, some local businesses being located there for opportunities for growth. And then you can read through the rest of the guidelines. Also stated in the comprehensive plan are primary uses and secondary uses, primary uses being primarily agricultural, of course, and single-family residential, with secondary uses being, and this is what's applicable here, culturally related businesses. Landscaping is somewhat related to agriculture, and then small-scale commercial and retail also could be expected, again, with some diligent constraints to make sure that it's small-scale and kept in character with the overall area. Also included as secondary uses are institutional and two-family. Looking at the uses that are permitted in IN, heavy industrial versus IPM and industrial, light industrial, you can see that the IN is a much shorter list, however, it is much more intense than the IPM list. And IPM notably includes landscape contractor and landscape business. And over here, we also have mini warehouse. My apologies for not highlighting that, which is the driving factor for the rezoning. Also, for everyone's just reference, IN special exception uses can include things such as incinerators, rendering plants, landfills, and so on, none of which would be allowed even as special exception for IPM. And you're very familiar with the AG zoning uses, so I'll include that here. I just went through the criteria for the comprehensive plan. Generally, there is not proposed any real change with this rezoning, so it does seem like the current condition and character of the surrounding area would not change much. The addition of mini warehouses on the property really would not change, in staff's opinion, very much in terms of visibility. They'd be behind the current use, maybe a little increase in traffic, but again, it is on one of our major highways in the county. Most desirable use, again, this is an established use here. Conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. This is actually a down zoning from heavy industrial to ag and light industrial. So in general principle, when you do that, that tends to be a more favorable zoning for preservation of property values. And then the other two I will not go into detail on. It's, again, written out in the staff report. So with that summary, any questions for me?
Seeing none, is there a representative for this rezone?
Gary Baker, 54 South State Road 9, and basically want to reduce the intensity of the property and the size of it, as stated.
Any questions for him? Do anybody speaking for or against from the public for this project? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and go to the board for their payment. I'll move we approve 23W rezone 2.
I'd second that.
Motion and a second.
For clarification, motion to approve, you mean favorable recommendation?
Favorable recommendation, yes. Any further discussion? We'll go to a roll call for a vote.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Dane Drew.
Aye.
Brent Emmerich.
Aye.
Jack Green.
Aye.
Thor Hodges.
Yes.
Mark Johnson.
Aye.
Bob Schuman. Kim Kurtzessler.
Aye.
And Joe Wolf.
Motion carries. We'll move on to 23W DOA 2, the moratorium for the solar. Before we begin this, I guess I want to discuss quickly how the solar, for the large audience here today, we want to hear from all of you, and we do have a time limit of, we have to be out of here by 10:30 at night, so we will be limiting, the meeting will be over at 10, so everybody can get out. We will be limiting individuals to 2 minutes per speech. Representatives of groups can have 5 minutes. And we ask that you do your best not to repeat what everybody else has been saying, and to make sure that everyone can get their time. We ask if we go over your time, we may ask you to sit down. I also want to remind you that we are only discussing the moratorium. We are not discussing anything to do with a specific project tonight. So moratorium discussion only. I will give it to Nathan.
Thank you. And before I forget, I do want to express appreciation to the high school and the students and staff that have helped us out with this venue change, and I'm sure you in the audience also appreciate having a little nicer seats because of the volume of everyone here. So again, thank you to the school corporation and high school for accommodating us on pretty short notice. So the staff report is more of a staff memorandum, which you already have, and I'm sure you've had a chance to reflect. Essentially, what has been proposed is a moratorium on new commercial solar energy collection systems. Emphasis on commercial. This does not apply to you if you want to install a solar panel on your house, or an industry that wants to do a small solar panels on their roof, for example, and we do have many examples of those in the county. It's only the commercial scale, utility scale, however you want to say it, the large ones, that this would apply to as proposed, as written right now. It would apply countywide. The entire zoning code applies countywide. I do need to make that a little bit clearer. It would be countywide, not including the municipalities. So Columbia City, Cherubusco, South Whitley, all have their own zoning ordinances. So it would not apply to any projects that might be happening in those areas. As proposed, there are 2 components to this. There would be no applications for any overlay zonings while this moratorium is in effect. So what was withdrawn tonight, was on the schedule, would be, there would be no new applications for those. And then there would be no permit applications for construction of any commercial facilities. You have to have the overlay first before you can apply for a permit. So at this point, it's kind of a moot point, but it just adds another layer of moratorium to include both pieces. Proposed is a 1-year time period, which comes from the commissioner's request. The earliest adoption date would be, or could be, March 20th at their next county commissioners meeting on Monday. Going from there, of course, 1 year from that would be March 19th, 2024. The purpose for this moratoria should have some sort of purpose, and as we discussed, commissioners, the main reason is to take a pause, reflect on exactly what was adopted as standards, and go from there, make adjustments if needed. The intention was to use the case that we had already filed as kind of a test bed so that we could see in a real-world application what we would be looking at. With that now withdrawn, we're now looking at the standards basically as a refresher from what we did last year. So with that, this would be another recommendation, being a text amendment. You make a recommendation to the county commissioners, which then they act upon at their meeting whenever they want to. If by chance, and I just will remind you for those couple members that haven't been here quite as long, if the commissioners make a change to what you send to them, so let's say you feel that the moratorium should only apply to the overlay zone and not to permits, because permits can't happen without the overlay, so why have that in there? So that's how you send it to the commissioners. Commissioners, if they feel strongly that should be in there, they can make that change, add it back in. If they make changes, it comes back to the Plan Commission for re-review and affirmation. And if you affirm it, it goes into effect. If you still feel strongly that shouldn't be, it goes back to the commissioners one last time for their reaffirmation as changed. So again, we've had that happen once or twice before, so some of you are familiar with that, but Jack, Travis, Rob, you were here, I believe, when last had that happen. So information for your benefits. So with that, any questions for me?
Yeah, Nathan, just to level set everyone, the reason that we are going through a public hearing for this is because this deals with a zoning issue, correct?
Amendments can be initiated by the Plan Commission, which is our usual process, or by directive of the legislative body. So for the county, that's the county commissioners. And that's the process in this case.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll open the public hearing. Just please be mindful of the time limits. I think Brent will be timing. Is that right?
Sure.
One of us or all three of us will be timing.
They'll be timing in this, so I guess whoever would like to speak, please speak.
Hello, I'm Jason Dafford. I live at 3134 East Maury Road. This project would have surrounded my house. The Whitley County Citizens Against Solar would like to offer the over 870 signatures we have against solar. And there's a lot of reasons why. And obviously, we're not getting into that today, but, you know, one small thing that was said that I read through our comprehensive plan was in 1917, John Schlitz wrote in the soil survey, the real wealth of this county is the soil. If we cover this up with 700 or 7,000 acres of solar panels, are we helping our soil or are we hurting it? Our livelihood in this county is primarily farming. There's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of farm ground, and I see a lot of faces up there that do farm and proudly farm. So we would like to obviously ask for the moratorium to give us a better chance to work on setbacks from property lines like most of everything else that's commercial. To protect the residents, protect the health of them, and protect our ecosystem. It's very important to us in this county that the ecosystem stays healthy. They've got signatures, I don't know, do I turn them into somebody or you get them back?
Yeah, I can take him for record.
That is not all 870 signatures. I did turn some in at the commissioners meeting a while back, and we're still getting more daily. We'll hopefully have quite a few more. So please vote yes for the moratorium to give us time. And I know you guys all worked hard on getting this back and forth with the commissioners, but we don't feel strongly about the setbacks We don't feel that they should go from the foundation of a house. They should go from the property line, like everything else. Thank you.
Good evening, Joanne Knoll, 8099 South, 200 East, Columbia City. I live in the heart of downtown Lod, so I'm not affected, would not be affected by this proposed project. However, this is a county-wide thing. As most of you know, I stood before you a number of times when you were working on this solar ordinance, and I begged you to please, please protect non-participating property owners, because I wanted to avoid exactly where we're at now. And I probably also told you that developers typically, when they come into a county, do everything hush-hush, undercover. They sign private agreements that have gag clauses in them, and yes, I have seen one of the contracts that was offered, and yes, it does have a confidentiality clause in it. And then they spring it on the community at the last minute, and then they wonder why the neighbors are pissed off. This is not a good corporate citizen in this county. This is not a good neighbor. Someone who does that to a community, who keeps everything under wraps and then springs it on the community, that's not the way we do things. I ask you to please protect non-participating property owners. There's a bunch of people here that are non-participating property owners who were blindsided. I'm asking you to please vote a favorable recommendation back to the commissioners for this moratorium. We need to now have the discussion. It wasn't on anybody's radar screen except mine, probably, because I've been around this ball game a number of years now and I know how they operate. But now it's on everybody's radar screen. And now we can have the kind of discussion that we need to have to come up with an ordinance that not only protects the landowners who want this, but that protects the landowners that have their biggest investment in their home. And back when I stood before you in the summer, I presented expert testimony from the state of Kentucky from a designated expert real estate appraiser. Showed you there's up to 17% property value loss if you're on more than two sides. Am I done? Mm-hmm. I ask you for a favorable recommendation so we can have the discussion we should have had before. Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to thank the Planning and Building Department for holding this meeting and to thank the commissioners for considering this recommendation for a moratorium and to put a face to the letter that I wrote to you on March 5th asking several questions about why a moratorium might be really useful. And
Diana, can you state your name and
it's
address?
Diana DuPont, and like Joanne Knoll, my husband and I, we own a
We need
farm.
your address as well.
Oh, okay, it's 1676 South 700 East in Columbia City. And like Joanne, we're not directly affected by this particular project that was withdrawn, but we have an interest, and we have a farm that produces soybeans, corn, and specialty flowers. But really the questions that we were hoping would be addressed by the moratorium consider placement. Where would these solar panels best be placed? Is it on prime ag land, or maybe a rooftop in an industrial zone, or an abandoned parking lot? In other words, more responsibly placed than on prime ag land. Can we examine other places? And the other thing that we were wondering if the moratorium could answer with time is it all sounds so warm and fuzzy, green and harmless, solar farming, using somehow capturing the Earth's energy, the sun's energy rather, but is it really? So that's a question to be answered. The other was a financial impact and risk. The corporate interests seem to dangle all these tax incentives and enticements for this, but does Whitley County really need those? We have just built a new government center, you know, a jail is in process, a new beautiful high school in which we are. So do we really need it for what we might give up in the bargain? And then lastly, is that it? Okay. Well, thank you very much for considering the recommendation. We don't want to rush into anything. We're rushing too fast to the net zero carbon zero, but let's not hurt Whitley County in the process.
Hi, my name is Hostler, 3700 East, 300 South, Columbia City, and I am an adjacent landowner to this upcoming solar panel installation. I just would like a clarification, if I can, from Nathan. If you do approve this moratorium, when does it actually become effective? Is it after the commissioners vote?
Yeah, it would be, if the commissioners vote to approve it, it would be effective upon their vote.
So we have a short time period between now and the commissioners' meeting that's still open for them to refile tomorrow if they would need to?
Theoretically, yes. The way the code is worded, though, there would be a pre-filing meeting with staff before actually filing, and today being Wednesday, that could happen on Thursday and then file on Friday, but again, oh, yes, thank you. There is a waiting period for a project that was withdrawn.
Okay.
Of 6 months, so we'd be talking about somebody else entirely.
And like everyone else has said, this was kind of thrown on us within about the last 5 to 6 weeks, so we haven't really had time to prepare, and that's why we're asking for the moratorium. The other thing is that if we put the moratorium on, it will kill any projects for at least a year, so we can have time to reflect and maybe change some things in the ordinance before we have an influx of people wanting to do solar in the county, excuse me, which seems to be more talked about now than before. So that's all I have. Please consider the moratorium. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ina Colbart, 1975 East Maury Road, Columbia City. A lot of you know me here. I'm Ina's Playpen Childcare. I am also next to where the proposed was going for the solar farms. And I just want to let you guys know that I have small children next door to where this proposal was. So I just want you to know we do need more time, especially for business owners, parents that live around the area. You know, what harm is this going to be to our next generation of children that are growing up? There's not enough research been done, you know, to see if these heavy metals start leaking into the soil. You know, we have tornadoes fly through here, you know, bad windstorms. What's going to happen if these get tipped over? You know, we got the stuff leaking into our soil, into our children. You know, we all may not be here in 30, 40, 50 years when, you know, the contracts are up. It's going to be our children, our grandchildren are going to be dealing with this nightmare. We need to keep that in mind. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Jenna Salee. I'm Laura Mowry's daughter of Mowry Road. My family has been on Mowry Road for 6 generations. I am the granddaughter of Marjorie and Robert Mowry, and I thank you all for considering a moratorium, and Mark Johnson for the time that you have taken into these considerations. And now to stand before you, this was just brought to my attention at the last meeting, and when I saw the poster board of the 700 acres that would be covered with solar panels surrounding my family's 300 acres. I felt like this, and I'm going to be brief. I only got 1 minute and 7 seconds left, but I would humbly, and I think I can speak for the Maori family, request a moratorium to consider the option for our community, because we need a chance to review the ordinance and make sure it protects the community. We together can do what is right for Whitley County. All those Republican, I'm assuming, lease landowners that are looking at benefiting financially from democratic agendas that are going towards renewable energy, and I know very little. We have a lot to learn. 36 seconds left, so please consider that, and I thank you for being open to learning more about the potential hazards so that we can protect the community and do what is right for Whitley County. Thank you.
Two minutes.
Did you receive the oath? Were you here when I did the oath?
I was not. Would someone administer, please?
Will you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that any statement you make before the commission tonight will be the truth? If so, state I do.
I do. Thank you. My name is Rachel Connor. I'm the relatively new Executive Director of Hoosiers for Renewables. The address for our organization is 580 East Carmel Drive, Suite 4721, Carmel, Indiana 46032. I'm speaking in support of solar projects in general. I know that the application before you has been withdrawn. I know that you're considering a moratorium. I think the audience attendance here tonight indicates that there may be some more research to do here in Whitley County, and I'm not opposed to that. Hoosiers for Renewables is not opposed to that. I would like for communities to enter into clean energy projects, knowing what their goals and intentions are, knowing that they've created boundaries and safe requirements for the people who live around the project immediately, as well as others in the community. But Hoosiers for Renewables and I also see a lot of benefits. Companies want to locate near clean energy, and I know that we do not know where electrons go any more than I know where a kernel of corn coming out of one of my fields goes, but companies do like that proximity. We also know that there are benefits to farmers who can diversify their income stream with this type of income. For me personally, my family still milks cows. I've got 47 head of jerseys on the line today. Class 3 fluid milk prices are a little bit flux. I think March futures are like $17.97 today. That's not too bad. I'd like to see 20, but $11, $12 milk, things get a little bit tight. So for farm families who are looking for an additional revenue stream to balance out their income, this is a really good option that is not permanent as opposed to like a residential development or subdivision. I would be happy to submit additional information going forward to the Plan Commission as you look at this review process. I would like for my organization to be available to you for questions and information and to point you to other resources. I don't have anything else, but I'm happy to answer any questions. 2 minutes on the dot. Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak?
My name's Henry Janda. I live at 4360 East 700 South, Columbia City. After that last speaker, yes, industry or businesses want to get near solar, but that's probably because the agenda that's out there is browbeating them into the solar energy problems, so we can have more blackouts coming. I think we need to go with that moratorium, be able to look at the ordinance from our standpoint, not from the quote industry standpoint, that submitted the original. So please support that moratorium. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Becky Bechtel, and I am with the Land and Liberty Coalition under the Conservative Energy Network. I'm at 6046 Meridian Street, West Drive, Indianapolis, Indiana 46208. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the Indiana Land and Liberty Coalition, and what we are a grassroots coalition of farmers, landowners, private property rights activists, and most importantly, conservatives. What we do is we travel the state to attend meetings like this one, and we do that with passion. We advocate for the private property rights of our members to ensure that those rights are protected from government encroachment. We believe that farmers and landowners should have the right to do what they please with their land. And if they choose to farm crops, they should be able to do that. If they want to farm the wind or sun, they should have that right as well. This county, and I want to compliment you for this, has spent the better part of a year developing a thoughtful and well-crafted ordinance. The community has done its due diligence to consider the thoughts of both landowners and other stakeholders. Moratorium will only further delay the county being able to reap the benefits that solar development can provide. So I would urge you to make this moratorium as brief as possible so that landowners can move forward with projects like this and the county can begin to benefit. Thank you for allowing me to speak and with you tonight and for serving residents of Whitley County.
Would anybody else like to speak?
My name is Carrie Locke of 7570 South, 850 West, South Whitley. I do not concur with the previous speaker's statements. Both of them, actually, for industrial solar farms. It is not a temporary project. It is very much 30 years may seem temporary if you put it on paper, but it's not temporary for those of us who have to live around it. I personally do not live on Maury Road anymore, but I grew up. My parents, or my grandparents lived there. Those of us, it's our family. That's our ground. So we get a little emotional about this because it's not just some project to us. I care about it because my boys can't go into the woods that I grew up in without looking out and seeing a bunch of metal as they go explore. I don't know what they could be getting into or what their grandkids could be getting into if these solar panels sit there for 30 years. There's just not enough research for industrial solar farms right now. There's just not. That's why we need to have this moratorium, to have an ordinance created that is more robust, that gives us what we need as the adjacent landowners to protect us and be able to just give us the protections that the people proposing these projects don't seem to care about. They've left us in the dust as they have money signs in their eyes, and we really need this time to be able to fortify those ordinances. So I humbly ask that you approve this moratorium so that we can have that.
Yeah, my name's Larry Long, I'm 4835W, 800S, South Whitley, Indiana. I'm going to ask you tonight to approve this moratorium. For one reason, the setback is a calculation right now from your foundation of your house. That needs to be moved to the property line, and it needs to be a set number. There's too much variables in that. The average citizen doesn't understand that calculation. The other thing is some people already spoke tonight, as you add more solar and wind to the system, it's intermittent power, and you're getting into more problems. Right now, PGM's got a warning there's going to be more brownouts if we keep this up. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Don't cut me off.
I'll try to go quick.
Okay, my name is Erica Lambert. I live at 1532 East Kaiser Road, Columbia City. I've lived in Whitley County for my whole entire life. As a Whitley County resident, I was concerned hearing about the solar investment company. I wanted more information about this. So I attended the meet and greet on Van Buren, put on by the solar investment company. I was astonished on how these professionals representing the company knew so little. They did not educate on anything about the actual solar technology and the benefits. To my surprise, how could you have representation without knowing common things about your company? Therefore, I did my own research and asked fellow residents about this matter. It comes down to 4 farmers and an investment company who want to make money. There is no benefit for Whitley County. This is going to affect approximately 80 homes where people have laid their roots generation after generation.
I'd like to remind you that we're just talking about the moratorium, not the
I know, but
specific
I'm just
project.
going to finish.
Okay.
What happened to the saying, love thy neighbor? Everything has been hush-hush on this project. If it is such a great thing, wouldn't we all be shouting from our rooftops? But no one is, except 4 farmers and an investment company who want to make money. The solar technology is new and a lot of unknown factors. It is an experiment which doesn't need to be in Whitley County. If Whitley County wants to donate money, it should go to the children, education, food, clothing, and supplies. Let's take care of Whitley County with these benefits. There are true facts about solar farms. Panels capture about 20% of light for only about 5 hours. Indiana is known not to be a place with good outcome because we have cloudy days. Solar panels do affect the environment, for instance, vegetation, wildlife, and the soil. Studies have shown that heavy metals from the panels leach out of the cells and get into the groundwater. Don't forget the erosion, drainage channels, and soil. Almost done. I believe we all have learned in school soil needs to be cultivated and prepped for farming. But with this project, the topsoil will be removed. Good luck, farmers, bringing your land back to life for future farming. I don't even want to say that. Okay, done.
Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public comment and we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion in their favor.
Anybody got any comments?
Mark, I guess.
Yeah.
As a commission, we do not take this lightly. For the last 2 weeks, I have went over this stuff, went over several other things. When we started talking about the solar ordinance, I made sure I got in touch with my son, who works for city county government in Indianapolis, to find out something about what it all boils down to with the companies is the siting. It's $1 million per mile to run to connection point. And that. We are all in business. Whether we have a job, whether we have a car dealership, whatever business, a farmer, and that business is to make money, to support ourselves. I have looked at this from being a person who's lived in Whitley County my whole life. I somewhat think that this is the only place in the country that does that, that I've been where I've been at almost 60 years, but my family has been there almost 150 years. But also I have looked at it from a property owner's view, seeing how much it is for the inputs to grow an acre of corn and what I get out of it. And if I'm cash renting it for $300 an acre, and somebody's going to offer me $1,000, I'm also doing the math on that. So you have to look at from both sides. I know that it's very raw. There's a lot of emotion in that, and we do not take these things lightly on this board.
Thanks, Joe.
To add to what Joe and Mark said, I think we spent 9 months as a commission last year, approximately, going over and crafting this solar ordinance. Heard from a lot of people for and against, and took a lot into consideration, even having some speakers that do Nathan's job in other counties to try to figure out what they think works and doesn't work. So you're exactly right, Joe and Mark, that we have spent a lot of time and resources in this county. Staff has spent a lot of time going over this stuff, trying to figure out something that works.
I would just like to remind everyone that this Plan Commission is a subcommittee of the commissioners. We're assigned by the commissioners tasks, and we complete those tasks. And I think when the commissioners come back to us and ask for something in this nature, it's because they've recognized that more work needs to be put into it or thought. With that being said, I think it's important that when they ask us to approve a decision that they've made, that we take that very seriously. Know that whatever recommendation we give to them, they're still going to have the final say on it. We're a subcommittee for the commissioners. So I think it would be in our best interest to strongly consider the request of the commissioners. And I think it probably would need to be appropriate, Rob, if you would, I know you had discussion on that at the commissioners meeting, share at this meeting with us all and with the audience exactly what that conversation was like and exactly what you're asking us for.
See, I will say that I think Doug mentioned about 6 weeks ago was the first that I had heard of this, and I'm a new commissioner. I was just started the first of the year as far as this specific project, and have received significant comments, emails, phone calls, and I would say that as a Board of Commissioners, we all received the communication from the public, and felt like things were moving too fast, and we needed to slow down and give ourselves more time. And so that was why I moved to ask the Plan Commission to enact this moratorium at our 2 meetings ago. So.
I guess I would like to state that if this moratorium is passed, we would like some direction from the commissioners on what issues you'd like us to tackle to where we can move forward with this and try to, in a timely manner, figure out what needs done and what you guys are thinking to try to solve these issues.
Absolutely. And the moratorium was for up to 1 year. So I wanted to be clear on that. You know, any length of time up to 1 year.
Where's that fine line on there? I was under the understanding that moratorium was a year off the table.
We state, the commissioners state, is it Nathan or Liz, do we state the length of it, or do the commissioners?
Well, it would be whatever you approve as an ordinance.
Okay. So
It
it'd be
would
final
part
with the
of ordinance.
commissioners.
The draft that I provided was a year.
Yeah.
But it can be anything, it just shouldn't be more than a year.
Yeah, that was the direction we'd received.
I understand what you were saying, Joe, about how everyone's in this for profit, we all are working citizens. I understand that, but I also know that my business, my childcare side of this, could hurt my business. Could possibly put me out of business. I've already had my clientele tell me that if the solar farm comes in next to my daycare, they're probably gonna start pulling your children. So this is gonna hurt my business.
Public comment period is over.
Oh, I just wanted to let him know that, you know, what he said, the business part of it, that, you know.
Get with me out.
Say what?
Get with me out.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Joe.
I guess I would ask our commissioner representative, would you like the full year, or would you like to get this with sooner, or do you think we can get this dealt with sooner?
Yes, I think we can absolutely get it dealt with sooner, but I think that allowing ourselves that amount of time is as a limit is the right word, but full allotment of that should be adequate time for us to get this taken care of.
Another question for Liz. If we do it for a year and the commissioners say, we think we can lift that earlier, is that possible if they recommend we do that?
Right, so if you guys passed an amended solar code ordinance, you could lift the moratorium earlier in conjunction with passing that ordinance, or recommending that ordinance to the plan commission, or to the commissioners.
My first thought is if we're going to give a favorable recommendation, we give it a year. If that's the commission's request.
You guys tell the public if you release it less than a year?
That the way you guys will find out is to continue to come to these meetings and continue. I'm sorry, that's the way that the commission works is for the public to be involved. There will be more time for public comment at those meetings as we learn about what we're doing and learn about maybe new setbacks or whatever we're going to do, is how the government works. Is you gotta show up to state your opinion. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. You gotta check the government website, check what's going on in all these meetings. You gotta, as a citizen, that's your duty to keep track of that. Sorry to say, but that's.
Mr. President, it would be subject to a public hearing.
Yeah,
So there would be a public hearing notice, just like there was for the moratorium.
Okay. That comes back to being involved. You gotta, it's, not everybody gets a newspaper anymore, we understand that, but it takes a little legwork on the county's website. Every meeting, every rezone, every commissioner meeting, all the agendas are on the website, is probably the best place to look for your information. Yeah, there's a plan commission meeting every month, there's commissioner meetings twice a month, there's BZA meetings, there's once a month. The plan commission meetings are the third Wednesday of every month. The BZA's, I'm not sure the schedule, Nathan probably knows better than me.
So Plan Commission meetings are regularly scheduled for the third Wednesday of each month unless there's a conflict due to holidays. BZA meetings, county BZA meetings are scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of each month unless there's a conflict due to a holiday. And the commissioners' meetings are the first and third Monday of the month, again, unless there's a holiday somehow conflicting. For example, Labor Day usually is a conflict. We will check with our county coordinator. I don't know if our website actually has that capability built in or not, but I do know from personal experience there are apps that you can get fined that would do that on a third-party basis.
I guess we'll bring it back to the board for their consideration. Do you want to make a motion?
I guess I have a couple of mixed feelings about how this is being conducted, because we as a plan commission, as our president has mentioned, were tasked to come up with a solar code. And we worked fairly tirelessly at this. And we educated ourselves and came up with a code that the county commissioners at the time we thought would be satisfied with. There was some discussion about an error, a numeric error that was made in the code. There was some discussion about but that had been resolved, to my knowledge. Now we're confronted with having to face this moratorium, which, you know, if we have to go back to the drawing board, then we have to go back to the drawing board. I completely understand that. But I don't want it to reflect on the work that we did. And if we were to move forward with a no recommendation, no recommendation to the commission, to the county commissioners, and allow them to carry forward with whatever decision they want to make, and then come back to us with what they would like to see changed, that's how I prefer to move forward.
And for the audience benefit, the Plan Commission with a zoning text amendment or with rezoning, as you heard earlier, they have basically 4 options that they have to send this on to the county commissioners. 1 is with a favorable recommendation, and 2 is unfavorable recommendation, 3 is with no recommendation whatsoever. Here's what the code change would be. And then the 4th option is to continue it, which I don't think anybody really is considering tonight. So those are the 3 options. So when she says no recommendation, that means not a negative recommendation. It just means there isn't a recommendation.
Are you making that a motion?
I guess I will.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the commission?
I would just like to say, in regards to the gentleman's comment, when I say I wasn't aware of, of course I was aware that solar is an issue of growing importance in our state. I wasn't aware of this pending project of this magnitude that's evidently been in talks for some.
I guess we have a motion and a second for a no recommendation back to the commissioners. Guess we'll go to the roll call for a vote.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Dane Drew.
Aye.
Brent Emmerich.
Aye.
Jack Green.
Yes.
Thor Hodges.
Yes.
Mark Johnson.
Aye.
Rob Schuman.
No.
Kim Kressler.
Aye.
Joe Wolf.
Aye.
So we have given the commissioners, we've basically given it back to the commissioners. They will make their decision on what they want to do, which seems like they're want to move forward with the moratorium. So that is the end of that discussion. We will move on to other business, the rules and procedure discussion. Do we want to do that tonight, or what's your opinion?
So because the screen shut off, I'm going to suggest that we don't have discussion, but for your benefit, I highlighted a copy of the proposed rules. The highlights are what I think are either things that you maybe want to reflect on and provide additional input, or maybe new sections for your consideration. And I'd recommend that we review that and bring it back for another meeting.
All right. Sounds good. We'll continue that. Meeting's adjourned.